Hey, this is Dr. Chad Kish. Welcome to your Module 3 Hybrid Day video. This is a short one. It's for February 29th for PED 303 Healthcare Ethics. And we will get going. Module 3 Principles of Healthcare Ethics, and we will be working on our decision-making models and just wrapping that up. So we're going to be working on our final objective, decision-making models. We'll be investigating them. So we'll apply ethical theories and principles in various decision-making models to investigate and recommend ethical solutions to complex decisions in various professional settings. So we're going to concentrate on understanding those decision-making models so we can use that learning objective in next week's wrap-up. So in today's video lecture for our hybrid video, we will concentrate a little bit on decision-making models. We'll review Tuesday's decision-making models. We'll put a review spotlight on the decide model since that's what the assignment will be for Thursday. We will do our recognition prime model, the RPD model, the one we didn't get to. I'll go over the assignments again briefly. Those are also in Canvas with more detail. I'll detail the Unit 1 exam information. That won't be open until next week, but I'll give you a heads up on that if you want to go ahead and start studying. The video links, I'll explain what you need to do on that. They're also in if you download this lecture PowerPoint to use for notes outside this video, the video links are in that you can do, or you can get them through the Canvas page. So as we started out Thursday, what are decision-making models? Decision-making models are basically just ways to go about helping you make decisions. There are a variety of different models to help you guide your way through complex personal and professional decisions. These are basically different concepts, different maps, or foundational theories or guides. Usually they have different steps. They're step-by-step methods of helping you make complex decisions. Not just yes and no, like what color should I wear today, but they're models made by business leaders, based on psychological theories, sociological theories, based on effective business practices, best practices, a lot of times grounded in psychological theories, past research, use of different guidelines, to make those decisions for things to work out best in the future. Like I said, we'll go through, we went through a lot of them the other day, but they're basically going to be foundational guidelines to give you ways to then bring in those ethics, those principles, those laws, those morals, those values to make decisions. And they're going to be used in different frameworks. Some of these will have overlap. Some of them will be better in different situations, just kind of depending on the situation. Decision-making models can be the basis for organizational training programs. A lot of them were started for military theories. If your opponent does this, what do you do? A lot of them are used in business situations. What should we do? Should we concentrate on profit? Should we concentrate on safety? Should we concentrate on what our employees want? Should we concentrate on what our business's image is? And then first responders are going to get trained on what's the best thing you should do legally, ethically, morally. How can we help the most people what in this situation? Who do we triage? There's a triage order. Who do we help first to help them get the best care? Who needs the most care in an urgent situation? So, like I said, these decision-making models can be applied to different situations. So just like when we go back to our original theories and we talked about relativity, there's no one theory that can be used in every situation. So these decision-making models, there's not one specific model that'll work in every situation. A lot of them have concepts that overlap. So it's good to understand and practice various models in your different situations in both your personal and professional life. You might even combine some of the ideas in the different models when you make different decisions. And as we watch some of the videos to explain them, like we might use one to determine how we might make a decision with one of our friends if they're going to do something like cheat on a test or they have the answers to something. We might use one on how we might want to purchase our first car. We might use things on how we might go about managing employees. So there's different things we can use these decision-making models on. So I'll briefly review the decision-making models we went over on Tuesday to remind you kind of what they are. Um, the reflective equilibrium model, that's the one that was covered in the book, so you can review that in the book as well, and the rest of them are from my external research. So the reflective equilibrium model incorporates a wide scope of things. You're going to bring in all kinds of different concepts, then you're going to sift through those and kind of rank order them and use the big picture to make the decision. So you're going to think of different things such as your judgments on your own biases, your own rationality, your own ethics. You're going to also think of your principles. So you'll kind of think of your ethics and principles that we've discussed, whether it's society or just your own. You're going to think of rules of the situation, whether it's laws or it's rules of your organization or your own rules. You're going to bring in your own morals and beliefs as well as morals and beliefs of society. And then your own just thoughts on the situation, your intuition. And we'll talk about the intuitive model later. But how do you feel about a certain situation? What do you feel? And then you're going to kind of balance those out and determine your own assessment for the problem and make a decision, kind of balancing everything out. So you'll reflect on it, and the equilibrium means you're going to kind of equal things out and determine which one of those um, things in your wide scope has more credence. So you'll kind of play this a little bit with the consequentialism. You're going to rank order which things in there mean more to you in each situation. Number two, the decide model, and we'll focus on this one next. It'll be our spotlight. But the decide model was developed as a resource by healthcare managers, and it's an acronym. Decide is an acronym, and we'll go over each one of those. D is define the problem to start out with. Um, to define the problem, establish criteria. E is establish criteria. C is consider all the alternatives. I is identify the best option. D is then take that, develop a plan. You're going to take the best option, develop a plan. E is evaluate your action on your best plan after you put it into action. And then see if you want to continue that or start over or go back and consider a different alternative and develop a plan and try to work through that and evaluate that. So the decide model is just going to take you through those steps, and like I said, it's used by healthcare professionals a lot of times in that field when they're working with patients in care or determining how they're going to come to a solution on some kind of care situation. The rational model uh, is a 6-step model where we work through various solutions to complex situations. So it's not, once again, an easy situation, but complex situations. And we rationalize it, trying to come to the best solution. So it kind of has a lot of the concepts of our consequentialism. We're going to rank order things. We're going to think through all the solutions. What's the best alternative? What's the worst alternative? What's the best things, the benefits that could happen, the burdens that could happen, the best outcomes. We're going to rationalize everything. And this could be the best logical step to this complex issue. So we're going to choose this solution. The intuitive model is a little bit different. This is where we go on feelings. We're going to make a decision without really systematically or logically thinking through things or researching a situation. This is where we just kind of take that gut feeling and we make a decision based on our feeling. We like this better. We got a feeling about this person or this decision. I just feel this is right. It's really used a lot of times by experienced managers or when people are in a time crunch. A lot of times this is used by first responders when you just got to make a quick decision. Um, and it is used a lot of times. 85% of the managers say they've used this in the past, especially when it's like a 50-50 decision. The bounded rationality model, uh, that is an attempt to make a good decision that will satisfy most or the right people. So we talked about this. This is kind of a psychological and sociological theory where you're making a decision and you might not even realize um, cognitively that you're just trying to satisfy somebody. You might try to satisfy your boss, or you might be making a decision that could get you some social capital in the future. You're trying to satisfy somebody, maybe satisfy somebody you like, uh, maybe get some social capital that could help you in the future. Maybe this would make me the most money. You might not even cognitively understand you're doing that. So it's this uh, psychological principle says we might have some limits to our cognitive understanding, and we might also be trying to fit in some social norms, fit in a social group. So sometimes we make decisions to satisfy the right people or the most people. So it's not always doing the best for the most people, but it's satisfying somebody. So it's not making a bad decision or the best decision, but it's making a pretty good decision. The creative model, that's a 6, 7, 8 step, kind of depending on which creative model you use, that basically is an idea where you throw all kinds of new and innovative thinking, you use creative problem solving, uh, you just allow some incubation of thinking, allow maybe some group think, some individual think, and then you incubate ideas until kind of a eureka or aha moment comes about, and then you take that moment where the best kind of solution comes about and you try to run with that and see if it works. So a lot of employees like to work in this situation. It's kind of a new age thinking model. A lot of kind of startup companies, tech companies, um, companies that like to bring in people in that type of industry, the STEM field, work with this creative model. Um, a lot of creative thinkers work best in it, people that don't like to be micromanaged. So the last one we kind of got into, we didn't get to the video, and it can be a little tricky because it really is out there because it can be used in situations, and it's kind of a decision-making tree. Ties into it is the Vroom-Yetton model that then has a decision-making tree, and you have to make one decision to determine the next decision, determine the next decision. So it's a business uh, model, uh, and it uses 7 critical questions. And once you answer one question, you'll kind of slot it, and then you'll answer the next question. And as you go down this decision-making tree and make one decision on each critical question, it'll determine which concept you're going to use. Are you going to use this type of leadership role or the next type of leadership role? Are you going to include employees in the decision making, or are you not? Because it really kind of doesn't matter. Are you going to use this type of leadership style or not? So once you get through those 7 critical questions, it kind of helps you determine your leadership style and your decision making, if it's going to be group wise or not, and kind of helps lead you through that. So at the end of this, there's a video if you download this, and if not, make sure you go to the Canvas page and look at that link. There's about a 2 to 3 minute video to help explain that a little further. And then yesterday, um, I showed you the model for the decision-making tree. If you didn't take a picture, make sure you Google that, Google the Vroom-Yetton model and the decision-making tree, and try to look at that, because it can be a little bit confusing. But look at that decision-making tree and kind of just glance over that to get a good idea. If you're going to be in any type of business, I ever think you might run a business, it's a good thing to have. Um, you might want to save that to determine when you should or shouldn't involve your group in decision making. And then we'll get into the last one here in a minute. But we're going to go back and we'll talk about our assignments and our Unit 1 exam after we go back and talk about the DECIDE model, and we get on to our final model, the recognition prime decision making model. So our review spotlight is going to be at the DECIDE model, and I chose this one just to spotlight a little bit more, go in a little more detail because you have an assignment on this one. So the DECIDE model, once again, was developed as a resource for healthcare managers when applying crucial components of decision making. And they really wanted to assist improving skills and making more effective decisions for all of their nurses um, in triage in all different areas. So in triage is when you have to order systematically who you're going to care for first. So it's kind of a, you know, say you're in an emergency room situation, multiple people come in, who are you going to take care of first? People are going to have to wait in line, and we kind of talked about that situation, um, a week ago. Who do we let go in line in front of us? Do we feel like that's okay or not? If we've been waiting for a while, do we have an appointment? If something's life threatening. So the DECIDE model, once again, DECIDE is an acronym, and the acronym, as you see the graphic over on the right, there's 6 specific activities needed in this decision-making process. And each one goes along with the first letter of the first word in the steps of the process. So D is define the problem. We have to figure out exactly what the problem is. There might be multiple ideas, multiple considerations. What is the true problem? We have to get to the root of the problem. E is then establish the criteria. You might figure out what the criteria is for making decisions, and also it can be said to explore the alternatives. What are the different alternatives we might have in solving the problem? C is consider all the alternatives. So what are the alternatives? What are the different alternatives we can have, the positives we can have, or the consequences, the negatives we can have in each of the alternatives? I is identify the best alternative. And in the graphic we have over here, you also got to then identify your own values as well as your company's values and make sure that best alternative is in alignment with that, because you want to make sure you're doing things that fit within your own values. D is decide or develop a plan of action and then implement that plan of action to make sure you got to plan it out before you do it. Make sure all your steps are in order and then implement that plan. And then E, the last one, is you need to evaluate and monitor the solution, provide some feedback, and see if everything's going as planned. If not, do you need to tweak or alter it? If you do, can you alter it? That just goes back to that development implement phase. And if not, how far back on our steps do we need to do? Do we need to go back to considering all the alternatives and identifying a different plan of action, or do we need to go back and did we maybe establish or explore the wrong criteria, or did we even maybe define the wrong problem? Our overarching problem, we didn't really pick the right part of the problem out. So that's your DECIDE model, and make sure you understand this as you're doing your assignment. So our final decision-making model, this is a new one that we didn't get into, was the recognition prime decision-making model, known as the RPD model. And some of this brings in the intuitive, as we saw our 60-second clip on intuition the other day, talked about the recognition prime decision-making process a little bit. So the RPD, or the recognition prime model, describes how people make decisions under real-world conditions. And those real-world conditions bring in the concepts like time, pressure, and sometimes there's vague goals. Like, we want to make sure we make a good decision and save the most amount of people. In a fire, what's the goal if you're responding to a fire? To save the most lives, to save the structure, to put out the fire, to make sure the most value is done. Like, everybody's going to have different goals. If it's my house, I want my house and me and my dog and all my things of value to be saved, but then my neighbor might want their stuff to be saved too. So everybody's going to have a little bit different goals. The insurance company, wants things to be saved too, of value. So this is developed from the concept of naturalistic decision making, which is NDM, and that's one of those psychological and sociological theories, and it's the study of how people make decisions in complex or real world settings. This includes dynamic, uncertain, continually changing conditions. It requires real-time decisions in urgent situations with significant consequences. A lot of times this is put into play with things like game theory. And if you haven't done that or heard about that, you might want to look that up. These are going to be even put into play in simulators, in different actions, like there's military simulators, there's the police training simulators, fire academies training simulators. So there's all kinds of virtual reality simulators now that are made to do training and not just in book type classroom situations anymore. So what is this designed to do? It's designed to improve real world performance and then help develop expertise, skills, abilities in more real-time, real type skills in a professional setting. So those virtual reality simulators are more real-time than just talking about it and thinking about it. You're actually kind of doing it. Like, you have the virtual reality goggles and glasses and all kinds of things now. And it's not just watching a video and thinking about it and doing it, which was a step up from just book work. It's actually mimicking the movements and doing things now. So this model can help you make quick decisions, real life, real time, even active movements in complicated situations. What you're going to do first is you're going to have to study how experienced and knowledgeable professionals make those time-bound critical decisions. Then you're going to have to practice doing them in real time, and then you're going to even practice if it's a movement-based thing, like in saving somebody from a fire or in a active shooter type of situation. You're going to practice the movements as well. So there are 4 components of the recognition prime decision making model. The first one is you have to have relevant cues for the situation, right? You have to observe and take a quick inventory of the situation and see what's going on. If you come into a room and you have to assess the situation, you have to see if there's somebody that's hostile, you have to see how many people are on your side, how many people possibly are in danger, if there's a fire over here, if somebody maybe has a gun, what the situation might be, if somebody's holding somebody up, like just if you walk in a bank, are you going to have to get in line? Is there a good situation? Just really everything. Number 2, you have to set some realistic expectations or expectancies. What are the possible outcome expectations for the situation? If you walk into a bank and it's getting robbed, do you happen to have your conceal and carry permit and you happen to have your gun on you? Like, are you going to be able to act with a firearm? Are you actually trained in an active shooter situation? Do you have your cell phone on you where you could call for help? Is there a guard there that's an armed guard? Can you get back out the door, or they haven't seen you? You could step back out the door and immediately call for help. Like, what are the possible outcome expectations? Like, what could you possibly do immediately? What are realistic? Or did they happen to grab you and throw you on the floor and tell you what to do? Like, so you have to immediately make those outcome expectations. And then you have to determine after that, what are some realistic goals for the situation? If you can step outside, you can make a call for help. If you're inside, you've got caught, captured by the robbers, what are some realistic goals for the situation? You can look around. Do you happen to have your phone on you? Set up some realistic goals. Not unrealistic goals, but every situation you need some immediate realistic goals. And this all is going to be done time bound, under stress, under pressure. So hopefully you have some background and some training in this. And if not, then you're just going to make the best decision out of what you have. And then you're going to determine your best course of action. And you're going to try to take some kind of careful yet swift and immediate action as the situation dictates. what's the best option for the most people kind of right now, right? Do you have a little bit of time to take? Can you be patient? If you can, then you do. Sometimes being patient's a good thing in this situation. Sometimes you need to take some immediate action um, to resolve the situation. So what's the best option for the most people right now, and when do we need to take action, and how do you balance that out? So think about this for a second. What theory does this remind us of? Yeah, I'm pausing because I have to do that in class. If you didn't come up with consequentialism, which is also utilitarianism, the most people, the best option for the most people. When we think through consequentialism, that's what we want to do. That's the theory that this usually comes out to work with. So make sure you watch the videos for the Vroom-Yetton as well as the recognition prime decision making model that are listed in the Canvas page. But I'll review your assignments real quick. If you haven't yet, make sure you do this assignment, determining a research question. So look in the Canvas page for this assignment. There's more information, but start by looking at the list of approved topics. This is the topic you submitted. Everybody submitted this. And then look at your instructor feedback on that. Some of you already have this completely done. You wrote a research question. Some of you just gave me a topic. I approved your topic and gave you back some feedback and said you're going to have to think of a question, something like this, or gave you some general direction what to go. So what you need to do is you're going to turn in basically a question. So you must develop a research question. You might call this a thesis question, topical question, but it needs to be a debatable question. So you need to frame your topic as a question that can be controversial. So a reasonable question would need to apply some kind of ethical theory, some principles, some laws, a decision-making model to determine an answer. So the caveat here is if we can apply all that and only come to an answer of yes or no, and every reasonable person would come to yes or no, and there is only research that's going to come to one of the answers, you can't use that research question. So your research question must have some people would come to yes and some people would come to no. So you might need to change up your research question a little bit. So you'll have to come up with a different research question for your topic. There must be research when you do research, and you'll know the assignments are coming if you're in class, that would back up both sides of this question. So it can't be such a question as that everybody would answer yes or everybody would answer no. So when you apply some of your things like theories and principles, because your assignment's going to be, you're going to have to find theories, principles, and a decision-making model that'll back up the yes answer and that'll back up the no answer before you then explain what your answer would be. So your assignment is simple, might be difficult because you're going to have to think and find out if there's a yes or a no. You're going to provide just one sentence, and it needs to be a well-written one sentence. It needs to be clear and concise. Don't make it confusing. A research question, right? It has to be in the form of a question to make your topic ethically debatable. And that needs to be turned in by Wednesday, February 28th at 8 p.m. And then you need to immediately look at your feedback because you'll use this feedback, and if you get all your points and I say this is good, then when you do your research, that's the question you'll use. If I tell you need to change it or update it, make sure you come back and work on that with me Thursday, Friday, before you do your research assignments that are in this model. All right, so don't be late on this. Make sure you're reading your feedback. When you get feedback, immediately respond so we can work through this. If you have any questions, you need to come during this class period time. I'll be in my office on Thursday and we can talk through it. I gave you your review spotlight on the DECIDE model because our assignment for applying decision-making models is applying the DECIDE model. So in part one, and I need you to follow the outline here. So put part one, personal health care situation. So then you need to explain some kind of complex real world healthcare type situation. Needs to be on healthcare, wellness, something general in the field. So give me 3 or 4 detailed sentences. All right, you can make them bullet points, but make them full sentences and fully describe some kind of complex situation that fits the healthcare industry, wellness type industry. So it needs to be a complex situation. Don't make it real simple that you're going to have to make a decision on. It can't be a scenario used in some kind of previous assignment or journal or one that I gave to you and something that we've done in class. So you're going to make a decision using the decide model on this. So come up with something kind of complex. Then you're going to put part 2 down, applying the decide model. And then under part 2, I would want you to put the numbers 1 through 6. And number 1, put D. Number 2, put E. Number 3, put C. So you're going to spell out decide. And under that, under each one, you'll put an A and B. So A, for number 1, you're going to put D. And A is going to be, you're going to explain the D. What does the D stand for? So you're going to explain what that step is of the acronym. So in one detailed sentence, explain the letter for that step of the acronym. And then in B, under number 1, you're going to take the D, all right? And in 2 or more detailed sentences, you're fully going to explain what you would do for that step of the decide model to make a decision for the scenario you described in part 1. So your scenario. And then you're going to go down to number 2, which is the E part of the acronym. And you're going to do A and B. You'll explain what the E is in one sentence. And then B, you're going to explain what you would do for your complex real world scenario. So you'll continue that all the way through the whole decide model. The only thing that would be different is for B, in the part where you have to go through all of your different scenarios and you have to consider the alternatives, you need to have at least 3 alternatives. So that's the only one that would be slightly different from this outline here. So B would have B1, 2, and 3 for the consider phase, and that's detailed in the Canvas page. So that's how you do this assignment, applying the decide model. So you have 2 research assignments, and they're pretty much similar, but the second one I took a little bit out because you only need to do that once. So one of them is going to be the affirmative side or the yes answer to your research question, and one of them is going to be the negative side or the no answer. So they both kind of follow the same outline, except one of them you won't have to explain your research question. So here's your assignment information. You're going to research the internet to find a research-based article aligned with your research topic or your research question. It needs to be a research-based article, not some kind of opinion or blog or posting on Facebook or something like that. So this article must be on the affirmative side of the article. It needs to agree with your research question. It needs to be the yes answer. It needs to provide some kind of fact or data to affirm it, right? There needs to be some kind of research quote. It needs to provide some kind of, like I said, some facts, some quotes, some data, some percentages, something some doctor said, something that really is researchy, right? Something that feels like it can't just be totally opinion based. Jimmy said, who's Jimmy? If Jimmy doesn't have some kind of credentials, like I said, that Jimmy's a doctor, then that's opinion based. So what are you going to do? I want you to follow this outline. 1, provide the link to the article. All right. Since this is going to be a research paper, you're going to have to provide APA reference. So you'll provide the reference and APA format for your reference page of your research paper. So you're going to actually do that. In Canvas, there's actually a link to the Purdue OWL page, and that explains to you and shows you how to pick between your resources. If it's a journal page, a book, a web article, it shows you how to do APA formatting. So use that website and it will help you make your APA reference. Do that correctly. If you do it now and take a few minutes, you'll have it saved. You're going to lose points if you don't do it in APA format. All right. So then you'll have this done for your research paper. Number 3 is topic information. Start by providing your research question from your research assignment. And then on this one only, you won't have to do this on the negative one, in several sentences, 3 or 4 or 5 sentences, I need you to explain how your research question is considered controversial or debatable. So explain your research question and then explain how it could be positive or the affirmative side in a question, in a sentence or two, and then how some people could possibly argue the other side in a sentence or two. So I want a good solid paragraph here. Back up one side, back up the other side with why you think some people would think it's okay and some people would think it's not okay. Number 4 is your article summary. And like I said, use these numbers and these headings for me and split this out. Provide 2 paragraphs, so 2 paragraphs, 4 sentences for each paragraph. Split up your paragraphs. A summary of the article. By doing this, you're starting to write your research paper. All right, you're going to have 2 good paragraphs on the affirmative side. So fully describe some of the main points of the article and detail why this is an affirmative article. So you need to put some kind of statistic in here. You know, do they put some statistics? Do they put some research? Is there a good quote in here from somebody? So you're now starting to explain the yes answer here. So this part is due Saturday, March 2nd by 8 p.m. Your research article number 2 is the negative side. So I'll breeze through this one because it's real similar. So you're going to research the internet. You're going to do the same thing. It needs to be a real research article, but it's going to be on the negative side of the debate. It needs to disagree with your research question. It needs to provide some facts that refute it. So you're going to ask your research question, and this needs to be no. It needs to be on the no side. We don't agree with it. So once again, you're going to provide the article link under number 1. Follow the outline, 1, article link. I need the heading, provide the information, enter space, APA reference. Once again, use that Purdue OWL site, provide a real APA reference. Number 3, provide your research question, but you don't have to now provide why both sides. You can skip that part. I only needed that once. And number 4, provide your summary. So provide a detailed 2-paragraph and at least 4 sentences for each paragraph. Give me the space in between. Summary of the article. And you need to describe the main points of this article and describe why it's on the negative side. Provide some kind of stats, some kind of quote, some kind of explanation of the no part. No, I like that you shouldn't agree with this topic. And these are some facts that say why. And this doctor said this, or 80% of the people do this, or whatever the case. And this is going to help you set the tone for the no part of your research project. So your assignment deadline is Sunday for this one at 8 p.m. I'll give you the information on this next week, but I just wanted to give you a heads up. The Unit 1 exam, which is the midterm, it's going to open next week on Thursday, and it'll be due through Sunday. If you get it done by Friday at noon, it'll go in on your midterm grades, or probably Friday at 11. Midterm grades are due by noon. So I generally put them in about 11, 11:30. If not, it won't go in. It won't be a 0 or anything because it's not due. So here's the Unit 1 exam information. The exam material is going to cover everything from Module 1, 2, and 3, so the introduction material, Chapter 1, Ethical Theories, Chapter 2, Principles of Healthcare Ethics, as well as our decision-making models. The exam information, there's going to be 60 selected response questions, so that's multiple choice or true-false questions. Refer to your course syllabus and course information for all your academic honesty policies. You're supposed to take that individually. Don't cheat. Don't use any other resources. Don't be Googling answers using a second screen. The exam is an individual assessment. I do give you 120 minutes, so 2 minutes per question. I do allow you to do it with open book and open notes. Like I said, no second screen, no help from a friend. I do look at all of the quiz information and statistics. So I do allow you to use your resources, and I do not do a lot of, like I said, it's going to be multiple choice, true, false type questions. I'm not going to do short answers or essays. I do all of that type of writing stuff when you have several days to work on that. A couple caveats: questions and answers are randomized, so you can't just sit next to somebody and do it together. So when I do that, I have to lock the backtracking. So once you answer a question, you can't go back. So select the best answer for each question, and once you submit it, it's locked, so you can't go back. So once you submit it, can't move on. Once the timer starts, that 120-minute starts, so there's no pause button, there's no stop button. Make sure you get good solid internet. I would suggest you find a good place free of distractions. Don't take it on your phone. Phones aren't supposed to be used for tests anyway. Find you a wired spot, a laptop, whatever. Best place is probably to take it in a computer lab on campus. So any material from classroom lectures, from any journal activities, from any presentations in class, from the textbook, any assigned readings, any assigned videos, any assignments, anything is fair game for the test. So just because I didn't give it to you on a PowerPoint presentation, if it was assigned in readings, it could be on the test. So the exam timeline, it'll open Thursday, March 7th at 8 a.m. Right, so that's not this Thursday, but next Thursday. And it closes Sunday, March 10th at 8 p.m. Here's a tricky part. A lot of you are going to leave for spring break on Friday, March 8th, and you're going to be traveling. So I'm not giving you any extensions or any excuses. So it opens March 7th. We don't have class March 7th. I would suggest you take that test, the exam, on March 7th. We're going to have a hybrid day on March 7th. So if you're going to travel and you're going to have some kind of issues at the airport, don't, or whatever the case might be. So make sure you consider that when you determine when you're going to take the test. If you get lost on Saturday and Sunday and don't have access to the internet, I'm not going to provide extensions. So I would suggest you take that test on Thursday before you leave campus, because I know you'll get in spring break mode and start that Friday afternoon. So don't wait. So here's your to-do list. Watch your video links. There's 2 video links on the hybrid page on Canvas. Understanding the Vroom-Yetten model, and then the recognition prime decision-making model that we went over today. They're a couple minutes long, sort of like the ones we went over on Tuesday. So they're on Canvas. The links are there. Hit those. And if you download this presentation, they're also in that link. Your assignment, determining your research questions, due Wednesday, February 28th at 8. Don't be late on that. The earlier you get it in, make sure you're reading your instructor feedback so you can get that done before you do your research article summaries. Your assignment, applying the DECIDE model, is due Thursday, February 29th. Follow the outline on that. Do that well. Make sure you don't try to use something you've used before. Your assignments, research article summaries. The better job you do on that, the easier your research project becomes. Follow the outline on that. Do a good job getting good research. Make sure you do your APA format correctly. Make sure you use your actual research question. Your affirmative needs to be answering the yes side and find real research. The negative needs to be the no side of your research question and use real research data. Those are due Saturday and Sunday. And then if you want, you can start studying for Unit 1 exam.